Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is No Game, No Life, Episode 6, Interesting. The episode in a nutshell is a brief summary of what happened within this episode. So this episode starts with Shiro and Sora challenging Jibril, the Fugal, to a game. And they do so by promising all of the 40,000 books that Sora has downloaded onto his tablet in order to study for quiz games, which of course is knowledge from another world, so knowledge which Jabril would not have. And the Flugel tend to, when the war was ongoing, they collected severed heads. However, since war was outlawed and violence was outlawed by Tet, they now collect knowledge, and she is very extremely interested in the knowledge from another world, as well as Sora and Shiro themselves, because Sora and Shiro have no spirits in their body at all, let alone spirit circuits, which proves that they are from another world, and she notes how they may not even be considered defined as life in this board. Though they do have, of course, the appearance of humanity, they are the unknown, which is just as interesting as knowledge to her. So she accepts their game, and at first they just asked for the library. However, she doesn't feel that that's significant enough, and as the commandments say, both parties have to agree what's being bet is of equal value, and so she increases the bet to be everything that she has, including herself, as part of the bet, and they then begin the game, which is materialization word chain, which is basically, with word chain, anything that's already there will disappear, and anything that isn't there will appear as they say the words. So they start the game with a hydrogen bomb in order to test if information that Jabril doesn't know will be able to be materialized. Then they basically have fun with a lot of random words before they finally get to the end of the game, where Sora and Shiro use atomic theory in order to destroy Jabril, which is incredibly difficult to do because of how strong the Flugel are and the fact that they were weapons made by a god to fight against other gods and are therefore very difficult to destroy. So they essentially create a supernova explosion in space through removing the various layers of the earth and causing this core to basically, well, when a star dies, becoming a supernova. I think that's what they do. The translation could have been off, but essentially that's similar to what they do. They basically create an event that actually will kill Jabril, and because they jumped up before they started that process, Jabril dies a few seconds before they do, which creates, well, basically it leads to them being the winners of the game, and because they are the winners of the game, Jabril then belongs to them, and at the end of the episode, Jabril basically says a prayer to her creator, who apparently has already died, and offers herself to her new masters, which she is absolutely pleased by. And Sora, of course, says that the knowledge was just bait and that she's going to be allowed to read the 40,000 books that are in his tablet. And that's where we end the episode. Now that we've been reminded about what happened within the episode, it's now time to rank the episode. As a reminder, on this channel, we rank on two lists: a mostly objective ranking list, which is void of emotion, but bias and judgment can apply, and the personal ranking list, which is where the emotion applies and is just my personal opinion. So starting with our mostly objective rank values, our first value is 2 points for our supporting character introduction, which is the introduction of Jabril, who has now joined Stephanie as part of Sora and Shiro's core group of characters. We then have another 2 points for a resolved subplot, which is, of course, the game with Jabril, which is materialization word chain. And then finally, we have 4 points, which is the world building aspect, where we learn a bit about how life functions on Discord. We learn, for example, that all living things have what they were calling spirits, or what was translated as spirits, inside of them. However, humanity cannot use magic because they don't have spirit circuits, which is what magic flows through, and that Jabril has spirit circuits because she's a flugel and they are ranked 6th of the 16 sentient races, and that the majority of the spirit circuits are in her wings, which is what makes that an erogenous zone for her. We also learn that the flugel are led by a council of 18 wings, which Jabril is a part of. And then, of course, that they are incredibly durable and difficult to kill, and that the god Azeroth had made them, but apparently has passed on since then. So we learn quite a bit. We also hear her commonly talk about how she had mistaken them for mere humanity and constantly refer to them as weak. And Sora kind of admonishes her for basically being fascinated and curious about knowledge, but not being respectful of that knowledge and of the knowledge that she doesn't have, which is what allows them to win, as they were able to anticipate the way that she would behave, so that the final word that they were able to show was on paper pre-written down by Sora, because he could see how she would behave based on her attitude towards knowledge and her sense of superiority over them. So a lot of world building happened in this episode, and that brings the episode to an 8 out of 10 on our objective list. So our series ranking so far for the mostly objective ranking, as always, when more than one episode has the same ranking, it will be just marked in episode order. So in first place we have Beginner, followed by Grandmaster. Third place was Challenger. This episode came in 4th, Interesting. 5th was Expert, and then in 6th place we have Weak Square. So now we come to the personal ranking, and honestly, I don't have much to add from what was said in the summary and the mostly objective ranking. Honestly, I felt that this episode is probably the strongest so far. I really enjoyed the visuals of it. I enjoyed the way that they were able to bring in a comedic aspect through bringing in all of the different words and the distraction words. I liked how they cleverly ended the game and managed to win over the Flugel, and how it was really truly set up from the start of the game, and then coming to the conclusion, how it was so set up that Sora was able to win by preemptively writing down the final word on a piece of paper in order to succeed in winning, knowing Jabril well enough by that point to know what it is that she was going to choose as the word in order to make it. So how they were kind of guiding her through the nose. They've been kind of having this theme of the game's won before it even begins, and this episode I think did a really good job of showing that as truth. And then of course we learned more about the world, which I always personally find very interesting. Jabril is a fun character and likable as a character, so it's great that she's introduced. Nothing bad to say there. The only negative, of course, was the perversion that honestly I didn't feel needed to be there. However, as I mentioned in the last episode, with anime, you kind of just have to accept that that's a part of the culture, and most of the anime will have that at some point and in there in some way, and No Game No Life is no different from that. And you just have to accept that it's going to be there. As I said, I'm a bit on the prudish side, so I never really enjoy that aspect of it. I also don't like how one-sided it is because honestly, would it kill them to add in fan service targeted towards straight women rather than just straight men? Honestly, I don't think it would kill them. And there are a couple series that I plan to do in the future where they actually do manage fan service towards women, which I greatly appreciate. But this series, unfortunately, is not one of them. And for that reason, I gave it a 9 out of 10. The point off was because of the perversion that I'm not overly fond of. But that brings our series ranking so far for the personal ranking to this episode in first place, interesting, then grandmaster, beginner, expert, challenger, and finally in sixth place we have weak square. With that, we've now rewatched and ranked No Game No Life episode 6, interesting. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.